Rev up those motorcycles because we got nowhere to run. Hold on. That makes no freaking sense, but whatever. Let's get into it. Welcome back to my channel. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Today we're going to take a step back into Van Damme territory with 1993's Nowhere to Run. Now, before we get into that, if you do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. Now, this film was released January 15th of 1993. It's rated R. It's only an hour and 34 minutes long, and it had a budget of $15 million, and upon release, it made 22 in America and 64 worldwide. So it did make some bucks for Columbia, which Van Damme had just signed a 3-picture deal with. And Van Damme was just coming off of Universal Soldier in 92, which I really liked that film. And then he went on after this due to Hard Target with John Woo in 93. Robert Harmon directed this film, and Robert Harmon directed The Hitcher, which is an excellent horror film from the 80s starring Rutger Hauer and Thomas C. Howell. If you've never seen that film, I highly recommend it. I will do a review on that somewhere down the line. But today we're talking about Nowhere to Run. Jean-Claude Van Damme plays Sam in this film, an escaped convict. Rosanna Arquette plays this widowed wife on this farm, on the family farm with her 2 children. One's a boy, one's a girl, and the boys play the one McCulkin sibling. Ted Levine, the great Ted Levine, plays Mr. Dunson, and Joss Ackland plays Franklin Hale, the owner of this construction company that's willing to go to the extreme to get people to sell their property to him so he could build his development. And he was the main bad guy in Lethal Weapon 2. And if you're a Mighty Ducks fan, the original Mighty Ducks, he played Hans in that film. So yes, he's a very familiar face from the 90s. And this film has a very, very simple action setup here. Basically, Van Damme's on, at the beginning of the film, we see this prison bus going down the highway, and Van Damme's one of the prisoners. And we see this car come out of nowhere, and there's an accident. And here it's his friend who's there to bust him out, and he escapes, but his friend gets shot by the prison guards, and now Van Damme's on the run trying to stay under the radar away from the police. And we kind of find out in their quick interaction between him and his friend in the car that he went to prison for his friend, and he never ratted his friend out, and his friend was thankful and sorry for how things went down. And pretty much Sam stumbles upon this farmhouse, and he meets the little boy of this family. And then eventually he meets the mom, because the mom's being harassed by this developer, played by Joss Ackland. And he hired Mr. Dunson, Ted Levine's character, is more like an enforcer to help pressure these people into selling their land to him so he can build this big development that he stands to make a lot of money off of. And the local sheriff is in the pocket of the local sheriff also has a crush on Rosanna Arquette's character. So there's that dynamic as well, but Van Damme's character helps her out of a bind. Like, these men show up at her house at night. He fights them off. He also helps this other farmer nearby who they're harassing to try to get his land as well. And pretty much Van Damme goes on the run because the sheriff doesn't like that he's around, so he kind of calls the state police. So Van Damme goes on the run after he explains to Rosanna Arquette's character about why he went to prison. He was a thief, but he didn't kill anybody. He went to prison for a crime he really didn't commit. His friend actually committed, but he took the blame for it. And eventually, they have sex in the meantime before this, and then he comes back to save her because Franklin Hale shows up, Mr. Dunson shows up, and a couple other thugs, and Van Damme comes back and saves the day. Very standard stuff here. I mean, there's a little bit of a love story in here. Rosanna Arquette's character falls in love with Sam. He likes her and her family. He loves her kids, especially the son. It's almost like a built-in family for him, something missing from his life. I mean, there's not a whole lot of depth here. It's a pretty standard action film, especially for Van Damme around this time, but it's handled really well. Robert Harmon handles the action really well. There's some cool stunt work with vehicles here. The fights are well shot. I will say Ted Levine's a great actor. He's always been a great actor whenever he shows up. The only problem is, even though he makes a terrific bad guy, no doubt, he's really not much of a one-on-one threat to Van Damme. The end fight between him and Van Damme, it's good, it's fine, but I never felt like Ted Levine's character ever had a chance of beating Van Damme, which we know wasn't going to happen anyway because how these films are structured. Our hero was going to win the day. But I never felt like Van Damme's character was ever in any real danger from Mr. Dunson. I just never got that. I mean, Ted Levine's his acting's great. It's just I never bought mano a mano that he ever stood a real threat up to Van Damme's character. But overall, it's good. I mean, the actors are doing pretty good here. Rosanna Arquette's good as a single mom. I mean, she does fall for Van Damme pretty quickly. It doesn't take long before they're in bed together, and she's telling her kids about how he stayed up in her room all night. I mean, it happens pretty quickly for a woman who's still torn up over her late husband. But really, you can't think about it all that much. Some of it doesn't make sense, but it just flows, and you go along with it because there's some good action set pieces here. And Van Damme's likable. Again, all the actors are doing really well. The action's handled competently. I mean, Robert Harmon does a nice job, like he did in The Hitcher with some of the stunt work here. It's just a little action film. It's only an hour and 34 minutes long. It's a very quick watch. If you've never seen it, it's worth checking out if you like, especially Van Damme films when he was still doing theatrical films. I always liked this film. It's a nice little blip on Van Damme's career. I mean, it's not my favorite Van Damme film, but it's a good little action movie. It's nothing special, but it's not a piece of shit. It's a decent little action flick. That's what it is. And I remember seeing it that year in the drive-ins. It was a double bill with something else. I can't remember what it was at this time. But a little trivia. The only trivia I could really find on this film is Rosanna Arquette. I guess she's stated in interviews after this film was released that she did not like working with Van Damme. She didn't specify why that was. And I guess Van Damme wasn't happy with the script. But what he claims is the writer promised him that he was going to fix it. And Van Damme claims he never did. I mean, again, the script's nothing special. It's just a little action film. And I was, again, watching it for the first time in years. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. It's not the greatest thing, but overall, I would give Nowhere to Run a 7 out of 10. Have you ever seen this film? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. I just gave it a 7 out of 10. Other than that, I'll be back next week with Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. I'm trying to come up with a good intro for that film. I think I got one. We'll see how that turns out. Until then, have a great weekend, and I'm just going to leave you with bye.